Hello and welcome in, everyone. Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you're from. I'm just popping out one last little piece here in my hands, and it's going to be a fun class. Today, we're talking about how to make pop-out cards with your Glowforge Aura. And what a pop-out card is, I'm trying to get this out so you can see all the pieces. What a pop-out card is, it's basically this is about, I think, a 5x6 size finished card, and it has little pieces inside the card that you can paint and pop out and make ornaments, or just a little activity, a busy activity, if you need to keep little hands, or even adult hands, a little busy while you're cooking or something's happening. So there's a huge variety of the pop-out cards in the Glowforge catalog. So there's a number of them that are the holidays. There are a number that are just animals. So if you have somebody who's a turtle lover, you could do a little turtle pop-out card or something like that, with the different designs that are in the card and in the catalog. So let's talk a little bit about the supplies you'll need to get started. I'm using this Make Market 1/16" balsa wood. I always feel like I say that wrong. The balsa wood. It is very thin, and I like the thinner approach to these projects because if you were to, have them set up on a table or mail them, you could tuck this into an envelope and mail this out to somebody. I like the thinner because then it'll keep my mailing down. But you also may want to add an extra little layer of cardboard in there, something much like this. When it comes to your packaging for the balsa wood, you have a little piece of cardboard in the back. So that's the supplies we're using. And then I'm using some paints and some adhesive. And I have a variety of different adhesives that we'll get into, but whatever wood type adhesive that you like is what you'll use in this project. I've tried a couple different woods. I do like the Mod Podge. I think it turns out really cute in the end. It's easy to use, and if I use it with a paintbrush, I get a little bit more control of it than if I'm just using it in a tube. So I do like that. I like the jar of it like that. So those are the materials you'll need. You'll need your Glowforge Aura, or the Spark. And just to kind of talk about the Glowforge, it does put off an odor. So you need to have the filter to filter the odor out the window, as well as any chemicals that burn off. You can get a electric filter from Glowforge to work with your machine, but the filter is a little bit noisy. So during class, I actually like to filter out my window. So I picked this up at the hardware store. It is a window filter for a dryer, and my filter hose fits right on top of it. You want it to be snug, so you definitely want to be able to work that on there. And you're just going to slide that right on there. And then I'm going to step off my camera and put this in my window. So all of the air will travel through the filter and out the window. This will keep my breathing air here nice and neat, and any chemicals or anything like that will go out the window. Now, when I am doing this, when I'm using my Glowforge, sometimes I'll take the whole Glowforge outside, and then I don't worry about the filter, but I have the whole system is outside. And it's important you do that on days it's not too sunny and not too cold. So it's a moderate, I use it in moderate temperatures. I'm just going to put this in my window and close my window up a bit so I can have that right there, and it will filter right out my window. Okay. Now, the other parts to the Glowforge that I want to talk about, when you open up your Glowforge, you will have a tray inside. And the tray is like, we'll pick up the little bits that fall off of your design. So sometimes you may have like little bits that stick on there. So you want to make sure you clean those out. And if bits are tiny, they'll go right into another tray. And you want to make sure that you keep those cleaned out as well. So I have a number of those. I think you're going to be able to see it on my camera angle, but I do have a number of those in here from previous cuts. So I want to get those cleaned out. If we can go over the overhead, I want to show how kind of dirty my screen is. So can we go to that second camera? So I can show how dirty it is and how to clean it off. Okay, great. So you can see some of those burn marks from an earlier project. And all you have to do to clean it off is, I like to use alcohol, so I'll just spritz alcohol on the screen like this. And then I like to use a lint-free little cloth here and clean that off. So you can see how much of that, how much dirt is on there. And I do this, I don't do this after every project, but I do this after every session of cleaning. And if you find that your Glowforge is not, isn't cutting properly, you may need to give your machine a clean. And this is the first step to doing that. We're also going to swipe down the rails. The rails can get dirty, and this is just the laser is burning into that wood, and this is just the residue from the wood burning off. And you just have to get that, keep it clean so it doesn't get sticky and dirty. And you would do that on both sides here. I've already done the one side, so I only had to do the other side here. I'll just clean that off. Okay, so then this will go back into my Glowforge, so we can go back over to the other camera if you want. And then I'm just going to kind of reach in here and pick up all these little pieces that are inside with my cloth, so I can just get those taken out. And then I'm going to grab a cleaning cloth and I'll show you how to clean the rails. So the print head is on those silver rails that run across the machine, and that's where the laser is housed in here, in this little guy here. So it runs on these rails, and the rails you also need to keep clean. On the Glowforge website, they do show you step by step how to clean out your machine and how to keep it clean. So if your rail is dirty, then the laser head won't slide on your rail properly, and it can kind of get stuck on a piece of dirt on the rail. So I like to give that a nice clean out before I start, and then get any of these little pieces out. And every now and then I'll take my little vacuum and clean up the whole space. And then my tray just goes right back into the into its little groove there. And it's right back in there. There we go. It'll just set right in like a little nesting thing. And then this is ready to go. So this is the head of the Glowforge. This is where your laser is. And then this light up here, this is the focusing light. So when you put your material in the machine, it will focus on that material. Now, if you were using, I want to show both ways. So let me see it. I think this is a nice piece here. So this is, well, all right, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to do this piece here. So this is the 12 by 12 piece, and it has a QR code on here. So when I put this in the machine, the QR code will be picked up by the camera lens, and it will know exactly the cut settings for that piece of material. So I'm going to share my screen here. And if anybody has any questions about how to keep your machine clean, then please do feel free to ask me if you have any questions about that. So when you come into the Glowforge space, you're going to select your project. So if we were to do the little reindeer, let's say, that would render it onto your screen. And once you have it on your canvas here, you can see how it's going to cut out. So I'm going to go ahead and close my screen, close my door here. And what will happen is my camera lens will move, and it will start to center on my wood. So when I go back and I want to switch my mode, it's right there. It's already got the QR code and selected the material right here. So light basswood plywood. And then I would just have to change those settings to go with the Glowforge material. So you just would change your settings. So this is going to be a cut, and this is going to be a cut. And proof grade material right here. It's a cut, proof grade, and a draft on the, sorry, and I don't want to engrave that. I want to actually score those lines. So it will, on my design, it will score those lines onto my design. Now I'm just going to switch my paper around, my material around, so I have a little bit better cutting space. Let's see if I'm going to put it in upside down here. Right, like that. Now I am going, right before I cut it, I'm going to switch it out with a thinner wood, because the thinner wood will cut a little bit faster for the time we have together today. But once you get this in here and you position it on your wood, so it will cut entirely on the wood. I've got plenty of space there to clear that corner. And I've got all that there. Now it's okay that it's going to cut over the Glowforge QR code. If I want to, I could peel that off and put that someplace else, so I always have that. But you can always come up here and select your material if you don't have the QR code. So that's not too big a deal. So using this material, I'm going to go ahead over here to the right, and that orange print icon, I'm going to go ahead and click on there. Then what you'll see happen is in my machine, we'll actually begin to measure my material, the depth of the material and everything like that, and make sure it's in the right place. Now, as I mentioned, we'll see how long it will take to cut using the 1/4 inch wood. I'm going to go ahead instead and use the balsa wood so we can see what that is. Okay, so it's calibrating the machine. So you can see right on the corner there, it's calibrating the machine. And then once it's ready to go, my light will start flashing green. But I'm going to come back here so we can see how much time it will take to actually cut that material out. And while it's cutting, I have some other shapes that I've already cut out. So we can kind of see it doing the cutting as well as then how to assemble the cards once they're done. So it's just doing the calibration. I'm going to stop share. So it actually isn't doing anything with the calibration. It's just kind of like pause there for a moment, and it'll start going. But I am going to switch out my materials. So somebody asked if you can create this on a different digital cutter, like a Cricut or Caesar, like a Caesar Juliet or a Silhouette. You can certainly create this style of card. And you would just do you would change your cutting lines. So it would, it won't be a laser cutter. You'll have to do dashed lines on there. But the catalog of designs that we're using is in the Glowforge catalog. So those designs, you may be able to find them on Etsy, or you may be able to find them some other way. I don't know if they're in the Cricut catalog. So you can see my light is flashing, and now I'm ready to start cutting it out. But I'm going to share my screen here one more time so you can see how long it's going to take to cut this. So it tells you, okay, it's going to take 17 minutes and 15 seconds to cut and score this project. So instead of using that material, I'm going to change it out and replace it with the basswood. Now that will, since I'm opening up my door and I'm putting in a different material, it will pause my cutting. And if I were to not cancel my print, it would cut it on that material, which we do not want that to happen. So let's just get this line back up. And again, the only reason I'm changing out my material is so that I can, so that this can cut out, and maybe we can get something else cut as well. I'm hoping we can do an envelope, because your Glowforge will cut out paper. So I can show you how to do that in this project as well. So we'll just bring our little ornament, our little deer over, and get him positioned onto the card. So I'm just going to position him right there. And then I select my material. So if you're using an unknown material, you can see if there is a Glowforge material that is compatible. If not, you just select you're using uncertified material, And then you have to tell the thickness of the material. And this material is 0.06 inches thick. So it may change the dimension here, but let's go ahead and choose our settings again. So the face here, we are going to score, and I'm using Make Market 1/16 inch balsa wood. So this is a custom cut, so you can use different woods and make custom cuts, and you can change the speed of your cut, the power of the cut, and the number of passes. I'm going to leave it this speed. They did update how fast your cutter can cut. So maybe we'll do this one at the 100 speed. And if we have time, we'll do another one at a higher speed so we can see the difference. So now this one I'm going to cut, and it's 1/16 inch, the Make Market balsa wood. And my speed is at 16, my power is at 6, and it will do 1 pass. So when you want to, if you're trying to figure out your cutting, you can come into your custom settings and alter your cutting. So I noticed my scoring was going too deep into one of my score lines. So I changed the setting in that actual piece. I just pushed back. Let's see if I can get that to click over for me. Cut. And that one, I'm going to change it. That's weird. I don't know why it's not letting me go over and change the depth of that. Let's do 0.06 again. Maybe it cleared that out for some reason. Okay. So he's on there, and then I'm going to come in here. Yeah. So I can come in here and change my settings here. So this should be at 100 speed. 6 power of 6 and 1 pass. So we're going to save that. I guess, I don't know if I hit something. All right. So once that's ready, we're going to hit print, and it will do the same thing. It's going to do that calibration step. It's going to scan and do the calibration step. And then we'll be able to go in and do that. If you have a question, please do put it in the Q&A section so I can read that question and answer your question as we're moving through the project. Now, how did I know that that balsa wood was 1/16 inches thick? I knew that because I used what's called a caliper to measure the thickness of my material. So I'll take this out of the packaging here, and we'll just measure the thickness of this material so you can see how to do that. And the caliper is a separate tool that you have to pick up. You can get one at your hardware store or anything like that. But it's this little tool, and it's digital. I like the digital because it takes any guesswork out of my project. So I just have to turn it on by moving it up and down, and then I clamp the material on the inside of it to see my measurement. And so it measures 0.06. So that's how I knew how thick my material was, because I measured it with my caliper. Okay, so once you've done that, you put your wood in, design, and then we're ready to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the go button. And I forgot to show you how quickly this is going to go. Now that I'm using a little thinner wood, it's going to be 3 minutes and 36 seconds on the whole project. So that just changed it a little bit using thinner wood to do that. So let's definitely get more cutting done today. So if you have something that you're interested in getting in seeing cut, like if you want me to cut the other board, the 1/4 inch, we can do that at the end, and you can see that. Okay, so while that's going to cut really quickly, but while that's cutting, if we can go back to the overhead, I do have some designs ready to go, and we're going to go ahead and show you a few different things. So this is a design I thought how appropriate for today. Happy Veterans Day. And I just used some metallic acrylic paint to paint this up, and then you can add a ribbon in the top of it. I did sort of a whitewash so that the score lines will still show, and you can see it's a little bit thicker than the other ones. So once you got your board painted, like this one, and you're going to assemble it. So we have all these little pieces here, and then we're going to assemble this together. One thing I'm going to show you on my little Santa Claus here, this is called a Posca pen, and it's a thick pen, but it allows me to go in and paint some of the lines instead of having to use a paintbrush on some of the line details, those finer details. I can just go in with this little marker and draw those lines in with the marker, just like that. So I've got that done, and if I wanted to, I could just put a little black up here on the ornament. I could have painted it red, whatever you want to do. And then I'm going to set this aside to dry. It shouldn't take too long to dry, but we'll set that aside to dry. And then you can add an ornament to your design and you're ready to go. So this one here is this. So when you pop it out of your card, here's my card. And when you pop your design out of the card, you have all the little pieces. And on your base piece, it does show you the score lines, so you know exactly where to place your extra pieces. You could have scored a name on here, or if you want to, you can use your pen and write a name on to your design. However you like to do it, you can do that. So I'm going to grab my Mod Podge here. This is one I have handy. It's a dishwasher safe Mod Podge. You can really use any type of Mod Podge that you want. Oops, give it a little deep in there. And then you're just going to put a thin layer on the back of your wood. Not too much because you don't really want it to goop out. And it will dry clear, but I like to do it as thin as I possibly can. And then we'll just adhere that to the design. So if you have, if you're hosting an event and maybe you have some little people coming over that you need to keep them busy and you want to have them entertained before dinner's ready or have a little activity, you could add a name to each of the cards, and then the kids can sit at the table and craft their design as meals are being prepared. They can do these for everybody at the table if you have, you know, some older kids that want something to do during the holidays, or even the super helpful relatives who want to be in the kitchen with you, but you just need to kind of keep them at the table doing something fun. This could be your go-to project. Now, sometimes if I have pieces and I want to make sure that they stay on, I'll just use these sewing clamps and I'll clamp those right down onto that, and that will hold that in place. And then this little piece here, we're going to turn this over and add a little adhesive on this, a little glue, and make sure that that's going to stay in place here. Now, I did something fun on this one, and I'm going to show you how I did the glitter on this. See how it's got glitter on it? When you have tiny hands helping out, you know, maybe not everybody is a rock star in their painting. Some people we can all get a little messy. So what you might want to do is have a little spot that they're working, and you can make it easy for a kid, a young kid, doesn't matter what age you're working with, can do the painting. So I'm just going to put out a little of my pink paint here. And I like to use saran wrap because then I can just throw it away. I don't have to keep it clean or anything. And so on this, my back stocking is going to be all pink. So I would paint that all pink. But first what I'm going to do is my little snowflake. So we're just going to take some acrylic paint. My paintbrush. There we go. I'm just going to throw that on there. And again, because these punch out, you don't have to worry about staying in the lines. You just want to get that paint color on there. So again, a child can do this very easily. And I'm going in a little bit thick because I want that color to be on there nice and thick. And then once you've got your paint on there, you can come back with glitter. Now, not everybody likes glitter. Some people may not want to have glitter at the holidays because, you know, glitter can get messy. But I pulled out in my stash some old glitter, and we're just going to sprinkle that on. So if you're glittering a piece, I recommend do that piece first, because while the paint is wet, your glitter and paint can dry. But if you had other pieces painted, they may catch the glitter as those other pieces are painted. And let me just grab a little paper towel here to knock that off of. So we'll just tap, tap, tap. We'll just tap, tap, tap that off. Just like that. And then I'm going to let that dry. And when I pull it out of the card, it will come right out of the card for me. And then I can go on and continue to paint the other pieces. So this back piece, we're just going to give this a nice, just an all over painting. The other nice thing about keeping the card in the design in the card is that you can you don't have to worry about the sides getting paint on it. They can just paint away and you don't have to worry about so many of the smaller details of, like, you know, keeping their hands clean, not getting on the sides. You don't have to worry about holding these tiny wet pieces if they're a smaller piece. So you're just going to push that right on there. And then you would decorate your other pieces. The other great thing is it does show you on the card here at the top what it will look like. So you kind of have an idea of what your finished card, your finished design will look like. And then also don't forget that you can change the engraving, the score lines up at the top here where it says build a stocking ornament. And you could just add something different up there that might say like happy holidays from the Andersons. And then you drop these off at a neighbor's house for their kids to decorate and hang on the tree. And if you're doing something like that, you may want to do a few of these designs and include a little paint pod. And I have my paint pod out. Where to go to show you guys. I'll find it. Oh, here it is. So you can include like a little paint pod that goes with the card so that when you drop this off at somebody's house, they have everything they need, even include like a little paintbrush or something to put their card together. So once that's painted white, we'll add some white painting on here. And I thought I had, let's see, you could also, don't forget, you can also stain these. So if you had some wood stain, you could stain them different colors. You could do a little wash with your colors if you wanted to. A wash is like where you'll add water to your paintbrush, and then you're gonna paint it with water. So it'll be like it's a wash down look. But all we have to do is go back in here and add paint. I always think this is like when you have to get close to these lines. I like to do this little feathery kind of approach. So as I'm coming up to a line, I kind of start to wiggle my brush and push kind of the paint a little bit forward. And that helps me keep that line really nice and crisp. So I can do the same thing kind of over here, just wiggle. So you start back here and then kind of wiggle your brush forward. Now, this is if you're painting it. If it's a kid painting it, don't expect them to be that precise about their coloring. You can also use colored pencils on these if you wanted to. So you could have colored pencils out, crayons, anything, any way that you want to add the color onto the card. You can certainly do any of those. Good question. Do the cut pieces not fall out of the card? They don't until you're ready. The cut pieces are actually a dashed line, and I can go in and show that to you in the software. So they're a dashed line. So it's like it'll do a little cut and then it leaves it open and it doesn't do the cut. Does that make sense? So it's just a dash line to the cut. Okay. And so I'll just paint this part up here and then we'll let this stay and we'll work on another one. Actually, we'll pull the other one out. Loop on there. All right. Again, this is a great opportunity time if you want to add a name to the project. You could just do it right here when it's nice and flat. So you can let this dry and then add a name onto the stocking there. Let that dry that way. Okay. So there's one that's painted and we're just going to set that aside. We've added the little glitter on there. So that's kind of a fun a fun way to add some color to the design. And then as you glue it on, you get some dimension onto your project. It's probably glued, that's probably dried enough. I can take this off. Now the back of your project will be clear. So it'll just be the wood. So again, you could come on the back side, you could actually cut out just the pieces separate and add those to the back side of the ornament so that you have, so it's both sides if you're doing this as a craft project. But if you're just doing it as a card to go along the way, you can just do it like that. So let's see, I'm gonna switch back over to this one, and let's take this out. Now, it doesn't look like it cut all the way through, so I may have to adjust my cut settings. It looks like it just scored the front of my card for some reason. It didn't actually cut through. So let's do that one again. If that happens, I think I messed with my settings a bit. So we'll do that one again and we'll get our settings done properly. So when you do your settings, you just want to save those settings so you know, okay, that was the right setting. So let's go back in and look and see what I had done wrong. Maybe I didn't have this set as a cut line. It's a cut. It's that 100 power 6 passes 1. I wonder why it didn't cut. Let's go back. I'm going to go and open up another Glowforge page, another window. I'm going to close that one out. We're going to, see, am I signed in? I'm signed in. Let's create. Now I know that reindeer design works because I did do that one already. So let's just let me grab the Santa hat, go pretty quickly. So this is one I did where I had those extra pieces. So if you wanted to do the extra pieces on your hat, on your project, you would have, so this is how it comes in as the card. And then if I want to just have those extra pieces to do both sides, I would copy that design and then paste that design as a new step. So that adds new steps over on the side here. Then we're going to bring the card that we're going to keep whole right there. And I'll come to this one and I will ungroup these pieces. When your image is grouped together, it moves around all together, which is great. But when you just want to work on certain pieces, you don't want it all to be grouped together. So I can just take that and delete that phrase. I'll delete the background square cut out and I'll delete that scoring piece. Now I have all the different pieces, the different elements are on my canvas. So I can just move these around and get these in the right spot. If you see, I just move that over there and I lose that score line. So I want to make sure I select both of those pieces and say to group those together, and then I can just move those together as needed. So we're just going to I'm moving these around so I can get everything on one piece. I'm going to have to come back down here and we'll move this out of the way. These are very, you have to really catch them with your mouse. So we'll group that together, move that over, I've got this here, and then I can just kind of grab him and we'll move that over. Then my card needs to come back over. So as you can see on these lines here, they are rather, you can see the dash lines on them. When I get it, let's go. All right, I don't need to. Do you guys get the idea? I don't want to spend all the time cutting up, like moving that all around, unless you need me to do it again, which I'm happy to. So if I come here and I go to my cut line, you can't really see the dashes here, can you? So to our balsa speed, I'm going to speed this up this time and see if how fast it cuts. And I'm going to keep my power at 6. I think I moved it to 8. So you can adjust the power as you see fit. There really wasn't any reason for it not to cut before. I'm just thinking maybe I didn't have it set to cut and I'll use the balsa, and then this is my score line here, and I'll use the balsa for that. So I've got a score, a cut, and a cut. And then the scoring lines. Okay, so now I need to pick my material. So I'm going to use uncertified material that is 0.06 because I use my caliper to measure that. And there we go. And now I'm ready to print it, and it's going to go through its process of getting it squared away and everything ready to go. And while that does that, I'll show you, I have one here that is already, it's got all the pieces in it. And as you can see, like I can really like push this around and move it so that the pieces don't come out. And then when I'm ready to take those pieces out, this is still drying a bit. Let me do one that's not wet. When I'm ready to take those pieces out, they just very gently, you pop them out, and the little tabs, you can't even tell that it had a little tab on the side of it. So it just really just will gently pop itself out like that. So it holds it enough that somebody can paint on it and everything like that. So this is all held together very nicely. And then when I'm ready to pop it out, I just will pop it out. Okay, see my lights flashing? Let's give this a try again. We'll see what's going on. And I'm going to come back over here. So I can show you how to, when I'm ready to pop this out, we're just going to push out the cards. So I'm just popping that right out of the corners. And then we'll just move that out of the way. Now, I did have something I haven't tried yet, but I thought when I was doing the glitter on the snowflake, I had something else I wanted to try, and I thought this would be a perfect project to do it. I have this glitter spray, and again, I have not used this in a very long time, but I have this spray paint that has glitter on. It's a glitter spray paint, and I thought, how fun would that be? So this is a glitter sealer glass, and this is a pink add shimmer. So it's just a pink shimmer. So let's try the pink shimmer on the pink, and we'll see how this comes out. Like I said, I haven't done, no, you don't even need to sand the edges, darling. The edges there's no sanding needed on the edges. Those little pieces just come right out. Okay, so that one's not working. Like I said, these are old pans, so we'll see what happens. That's on that. I'm gonna do the same on this one. Yeah, you don't have little tabs that are on your there's no tabs on your wood. So you don't have to worry about sanding it or anything like that. It just comes off really easily. And then I'll just pop out my snowflake here. The snowflake is a little bit more of a challenge because it's got such small pieces. So just take your time. You can use your scoring blade and kind of poke it with that if you need to. If you're worried your fingers are going to get there, but I just did it with my fingers and just did it carefully. It was the last piece I poked out because if I needed to kind of like break the rest of the wood around it, I would be able to do that. There that one goes. That just popped out so nicely. All right, so we're gonna let that dry a little bit before we do the other thing. And now I don't think you'll be able to see from the top. Let's see if I can do this. You all can't really see from the top how it's working. I want you to see it in action. I'm going to try something and move the camera closer, and then I'll move it right back and we'll get started when we get back. But let's see if I can move my front facing camera a little bit closer here. There it is out the window too. You guys can see it goes right out the window there. Oh, no, it's not going down. Here we go. You see that a little bit how it's going? So it looks like it's done the score lines but not the cut lines yet. So let's hope that those, oh, no, it didn't. All right, and it did not cut it again. So I'm not going to open it up yet because I want to try and run the exact same lines. I don't know why it's not cutting. Go figure. I don't know why it's not cutting. So we're gonna have to figure that out and get it to cut because it should be cutting. So let's do this. Let's go share screen. Maybe I was asking too much of it. So here, let's do this. I'm gonna do the unknown material. So you can also have the bed set focus. And so you can focus right on the center of your material. And actually since I'm moving my focus, I may have to put in a new piece of material, which is fine. Now the back side of the material I can still use, so it's not, I don't feel like I've wasted my material. I can still use the back side of the material for another project. So I don't throw away any of my scraps. I keep all of my scraps I keep handy. So I can use them again. And we're just gonna put that right in there. And this time I'm gonna do something I didn't do last time. I'm gonna do a test. So we'll test out our settings here. We'll move this over, move this out of the way like that. And then I'm just going to set up another like shape to just cut, and we're going to try a shape. So we'll just add a circle onto the canvas. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a circle and we're going to add that onto the canvas, and we'll have this cut out. This is what I want to do now. Let's do this. Okay. Just want to do a shape. Here we go. There it is. Insert shape. I just want to do a circle, have a really easy circle cut out onto there. And we're just going to give this a little test and see what's going on with why it's not cutting. So I'm going to just do a custom setting and do a new custom setting. So it's going to cut. Our material is the 0.06. I'm going to hit a manual, and we'll do 250 speed with 8 power and 1 pass. And that should do it for us. So we'll make that a custom setting. We're going to add that as our test balsa. Save. Okay. And then now, since these other pieces are not on my canvas, I don't have to worry about it trying to cut these. If you're worried about those, you can just ignore those layers. So if you ever have a layer on your canvas that you don't want to cut, you can just ignore that layer. Okay. So let's go. I'm going to stop share while that's getting calibrated, and then we can come back to that one in a minute. Let's see, it's ready to go. Or is it still thinking? Oh, it's moving over. Okay, so this was another one that I cut out, the deer, and this is ready to just, I've already got all the pieces cut out here. So I thought it might be fun to just paint this one. Oops, didn't want to do that. This is still drying, this little guy. So we'll keep him drying until we can make him like this. All right, our little light is flashing, indicating we're ready to cut. So let's see if we can get that circle to cut. And this is, if you're using new material or your material settings don't seem to be working, you can always come in and do a test cut and figure out, why it's not working. So I'm just going to put all my pieces on and make sure that I have everything is where it needs to go. Make that pieces. And I know which is the right side and the wrong side. Now, a lot of times I usually do mask my pieces And I put like if I'm using an uncertified wood, I'll put masking on the front and masking on the back. I just felt like with these cards for their purpose, I didn't need to do the masking on it. I could just do the I could just do that little bit. All right, I'm gonna unplug my machine. Your machine will automatically shut down. So the only way to shut your machine down is to unplug it. So we're gonna unplug the machine and then I'm gonna close out my browsers and get it to cut for me. So we're gonna close that out and then I'll turn this back on. But at least we did get some fun cutting done. Okay, let's go here. Go to Glowforge. Okay. So we'll just do create again. I'm going to do just that circle again, just to make sure that I'm getting the right cutting. So I'm just going to go create a blank design. And I'm just going to add a circle shape onto my canvas. Again, and I'll do it right in the same place since it didn't cut through on the last one. I'll just put that right in the same place. And then I will select my material. I'm using uncertified material. Oops. Test balsa. There. And then we have to just choose our material. 0.06 is our depth. Now, if I do the autofocus, I don't need to worry about having the depth of my material known. I can always come back and that's added in there. All right, so we'll just do a little painting while we're waiting for that. We've got my antlers and everything. I just want to make sure, like I said, that it's facing the right way and that it's facing up. So for the first coat, I'll just do a light fawn color and we'll paint the whole thing that fawn color. Just a nice little light brown color here. All right, and let's see. It's still thinking about my circle for me. So we'll just do that light fawn color over here. So you can see as I'm doing this, the paint can get on the side. So if you do it when it's still in the card, it actually won't go to on the sides of your design. So that is if you're doing other things, not these little cutesy kid kind of cards, but if you're doing other things to paint and maybe sell, then I definitely paint it when it's still in the case. And these are a great little market item to sell to parents. So you can, like my wood, I got the wood when it was on sale, and I could easily like get one or two cards out of a piece of the wood, and the wood on sale was $1. So if I even just sell these for $2, I'm making up my material goods. If you sell them for $5, then you've got a really good profit item that you're selling. So if you're doing a little market, this is a great way a good fun thing to do. It does not want to cut that for me. I don't know why. So let's do a little clean on the grill, on the rail. Maybe that's comments if it's not catching on the rail properly. Maybe I knocked it off or something. And I cleaned it before, so I'll just do another little clean sweep on it. Make sure everything's nice and clean. It's not getting caught on anything. That right there. Got my material in there. Everything looks good, so it should be cutting it. It's going to scan through again, and we'll go from that and do that one again. Now on the let's see, I guess I'll probably do this with the brown color too to match it. And then I'll have his little red nose on there that goes on top, so I don't have to worry. It's okay that I'm painting on it, And then where those black lines are, the score lines for the mouth, I may want to just leave those out. You know, I did speed up this cut, so let me see if I go back to the original 100, if that will work. Go back here. The speed back down to 100. I'm going to cut it and let's give it a shot. Okay, so that's going to be that, and then I'll do a little light brown in the center here. So this is just a little ivory color for his center. And I tend to like keep using my paintbrush, and then I get like a little blend in there. If you wanted to also add a little dimension to your project, if you were to take, like, let's say I were to take this pink ornament and I wanted to add a little bit of dimension over here, I could grab some pink paint and just paint on the border, just a little, rub that in a little bit and give it a little brush look on the border there. Even just a shadow on one side, and it was cute. I've got a little brown on my brush, so it kind of blends it all in, and just do a little dry brushing to add some dimension. Again, this is not if your kids are doing this. This is like if you're painting these or painting other wood items. That's my suggestions on doing that. Okay, so my machine is calibrating. We'll do the inside of his ears, this nice little tan color. Did anybody have any questions as I'm still working through the getting that to cut for me today? It's not normal for it not to cut, but it's like any type of electronic equipment. Sometimes it just needs a reboot. It's like your computer, it just needs a reboot. So if I were not doing this live, I might consider rebooting my whole system. So I would turn my computer down, turn it back on. I might clear my cookies, because sometimes that, like, your cookies can kind of get in the way of your machine communicating, any type of machine communicating to itself. So that might be something like, maybe there's some sort of memory, since it is a web-based software, there's some sort of memory in the web-based software that's saying, hey, you need to be cutting it this way, but that's not how I want it to do. So that's another troubleshooting technique, is to clear the cache on it. There we go. And then just a little red nose. Don't you think we should have a little red nose? I think it cut that time. We'll peek together while this is drying up here. See why it's so much easier to paint it when it's still in the card? Like, if I had to just paint that little red nose in the card, I could just go like boop, 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 and not, wouldn't get so messy right on the card. Okay, let's check our thing and make sure it did the cut for us this time. And it looks like it did. It looks like it went through, and it didn't quite get it all the way through. So, which is very unusual. So I think what I need to do is just do what I mentioned and clear my cache and get that cleared out. I don't necessarily think it's my settings that are a problem with my the actual piece. I think it's just I've got it's gunked up with other information in there. Okay, so I think that's everything that we've gone through. You know how to assemble the cards. You can put this in an envelope. I would consider cutting out your cardboard, which you can actually cut cardboard in the Glowforge. So if I were to if I wanted to mail this, what you could do is just go ahead in your Glowforge and let's do this. Let's do a new design. Let's create a new design. I'm going to create, and I'm going to put my cardboard piece in here. Let's see if we can get it to cut the cardboard. Sometimes I do like to use like cardboard or paper to see if if it is a clear my cache kind of thing, let's grab this guy. We'll bring him over. Oh, he's already there. Okay, here he is. So on this, all we need to do is cut that square piece. So we'll ignore all these other pieces and just do a cut on that piece. And I have a cardboard setting that I've created. It's a speed of 40, power of 10 with 2 passes. So we can speed that up a little bit to 100, and then it will just do, you can see those pieces on there, but it's just going to do the cardboard because all the other ones are set to ignore. And then if I do the material, I don't think, yeah, they have the 80-pound cardstock, but not cardboard. So I'm using uncertified materials, and I just need to take my caliper and see how thick my cardboard is to cut that. So I just have like my little caliper, and we're just going to measure that out. It's 0.06 also. Imagine that. 0.06. Submit. Okay, so it's just going to cut that out, and we'll say print. And then you'll see how it prints. Does anybody have any questions about troubleshooting your machine? I know we just kind of had to troubleshoot some of our software. We'll see if this how it works. We didn't really, since these projects are smaller, we didn't go over the larger projects. If you go on the Michael's YouTube channel, we did talk about that last time, how to cut larger pieces on your Glowforge, or you have these little doors that you can open and put in longer material. So you can cut something as long as you want. So as long as it's 12 inches by 24 inches, you can do that. And then you just slide your project through as you go. So that's something that is always an option to you. I kind of want to give this a second to cut for us, but oh, there's a couple questions here. Let me just pop over. We'll see. What's my preferred paint markers you like using for Glowforge wood projects? You know, it kind of depends on what I'm doing, but I just use like, I can use any of them. Like you can use any of the make market paints. You can use Americana paints. The folk art paints are good to use. I do tend to like the paints that have a little bit of gloss to it rather than the matte, because the wood is a matte. So I like to use the gloss. And then if I want to add a little bit more gloss, I would use a Mod Podge with a gloss finish. And then that would add a little bit of gloss. But you don't have to, you do not have to seal your design once you've painted it. So you don't feel like you have to add a sealant to it once you're done with it. You don't have to do that. Great question. All right, let's see if our cardboard is cutting. Looks like it sorted stuff. I have to wait. You have to be patient, and it'll tell you when it's okay to open up your machine. You can still hear it running, and it kind of clears out some of the smoke, and then you want to wait a couple more, minute or so when you're done. So here's our cardboard. And that just pops right out. There we go. So if I were going to be mailing a card, I could just put this together in an envelope, and then I have that extra sturdiness so it won't crack or break. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate all your questions. I hope you're inspired to make some cards with your Glowforge, and I'll see you next time.